talk about the latest developments of him being brought into detention in Senegal, Reed.
Thank you. Well, as you said, it's been 22 years. Finally, last year, there were two breakthroughs in this case. First was the election of Macky Sall as president of Senegal, and the victims had been lobbying Macky Sall for many years, and when he came into office, he said that he was going to finally allow this trial to go forward. And second, there was a decision by the International Court of Justice in The Hague that ordered Senegal to prosecute Habre without further delay if it did not extradite him. And Senegal and the African Union came together and created this special court within the courts of Senegal to try crimes committed in Chad during Habre's period. And the prosecutor has just come back from a trip to Chad. He has all the dossiers that we had put together, that the Belgians had put together over several years. And finally now he's going to ask for Hissène Habre's indictment on charges of crimes against humanity and war crimes.
I want to turn to an excerpt of The Dictator Hunter, a film about Reed Brody's work. In this clip, he's given a tour of one of Hissène Habre's notorious prisons.
Once this used to be a swimming pool, reserved for the families of the French military. Later on, Hissène Habré turned the pool into a jail, a unique prison. I was tortured. They tied my arms behind my back to stop the blood circulating and to paralyze one's arms and legs, to make people lose their limbs. In this cell, for example, there were 30 people. All cells were full. There was no oxygen. People died of lack of oxygen. It is a very cruel way to torture someone. Every morning we would knock on the walls like this. The people in the cell next to ours would do the same, to show us they were still alive. If someone died, we would ask them to take away the corpse. They would say, "How many are there?" If we said 2 or 3, they told us to wait till there were 5. Those who suffered most, we would lay on the corpses, as they were a little cooler. We slept on them till they were taken away.
That's Ismail Hashim from the film The Dictator Hunter. Reed, can you talk to us about the role of Hissène Habre's victims in bringing him to justice?
Well, what's very interesting about this case is that it's not being driven by The Hague or some international diplomats or prosecutors. This is a case where really the victims are the architects of the effort. And it's been this 22-year campaign by people like the people you saw on the screen pressing for justice. And so it's a very empowering kind of a process. And the victims will actually be parties in the trial. The victims will have their own legal team. And what we hope is that when this trial is broadcast all over Africa and back to Chad, and people see the Chadian lawyers, the Chadian victims presenting their testimony, examining witnesses, Chadian lawyer cross-examining Hissène Habré, that this could be an inspiration to people who are looking for justice all around the world.
Can you talk about the role of the United States in propping up Hissène Habré for all of the years that he was in power?
Sure. The United States saw, under Ronald Reagan, saw Hissène Habré as a bulwark against Muammar Gaddafi. Just as President Reagan took office, Gaddafi and the then president of Chad, Gukuni Wedi, had signed an agreement to merge. And Libyan troops were entering Chad and occupying the north of Chad. And the U.S. saw Chad as the soft underbelly of the Libyan government, and Secretary of State Alexander Haig reportedly wanted to aid Hissène Habré, who was then a local warlord, as a way of bloodying Gaddafi's nose. And so the U.S. gave assistance to Habre to help him take power, and then gave military and economic assistance to Habre throughout his government, even as he was turning his country into a police state. And one of the documents that we recovered in Habre's, many years ago, I stumbled on the files of Hissène Habre's political police, tens of thousands of documents.
Where did you stumble on?
In an abandoned building in the Chadian capital of N'Djamena. And we now have all these documents on CD-ROM. We have the lists of names of people who died, of people who were in prisons.
And you just found these in this abandoned building?
Yeah, we were doing a film for a Swiss TV program on the case, and we asked to visit the headquarters of his former political police. And there, in room after room, it was like we were finding these documents. And actually one of the very first documents we scooped up was a document in which several of the members of the DDS, Habre's political police, received training in the United States. And when we cross-checked these names, in fact, I've interviewed a couple of the people, some of these were the most feared torturers in Chad who were receiving training in the U.S. Now, I don't say that they received training in torture. We have no evidence of that. But the U.S. was intimately involved with Habre's political police. There was a U.S. advisor with Habre's political police. And even to the very last day of Habre's government, the U.S. was giving it military assistance.
Reed, what about the officials in Chad who worked with Habre? Could this case open the way to charges against them?
Well, it already has, in fact. I mean, we've been hoping that the approach of a trial of Hissène Habré abroad would also change the situation in Chad, because many of these people remain in powerful positions. And in fact, one of them, a police chief who is being sued by his victims in Chad, tried to assassinate the Chadian lawyer, Jacqueline Moudena, who's leading the case in Chad. He had a grenade thrown at her. And now, just in the last few weeks, actually, the Chadian government, seeing that there was justice being done on the international front, has moved to arrest and has arrested many of Habre's accomplices within Chad.
And so when will this trial take place, and where exactly is Hissène Habré right now?
Well, today he's at a police station where he's being held for questioning.
President Obama was just in Senegal.
President Obama, actually, and I have to say that the United States has, under President Obama, has been very supportive of this trial. And President Obama, when he met with President Macky Sall, congratulated him on moving forward, and the United States is providing $1 million, together with many other countries, for the support of this special court. We're expecting today or tomorrow the indictment of Hissène Habré on charges of crimes against humanity. Then the judges, the investigating judges, will have 15 months to investigate the charges. And so we're not looking at a trial here for another year and a half as these charges are investigated in Chad.
Reed, can you talk about the significance not only of Hissène Habré being picked up now and going to trial in Senegal, but you also have these other cases that you've been involved with also. You've got Duvalier in Haiti, and you've got Efraín Ríos Montt in Guatemala.
Well, it's very interesting. I mean, you have three U.S.-backed dictators from the 1980s, all facing charges for crimes against humanity. Ríos Montt in Guatemala, Jean-Claude Duvalier in Haiti. And in each case, really, it's taken, the victims. I mean, in Guatemala, I mean, the Ixil Maya Indians who have fought for 3 decades, telling their stories again and again, bringing people up to the grave. In each case, the victims have struggled for all this time. In Haiti, people like Bobby Duval and Michel Montas, who refused to allow fear to dominate. And when Duvalier came back into the country, they filed charges. And, this is a different kind of a justice from The Hague. This is justice at a national level, where the victims are the architects of the procedure, where the cases are being played out in front of the Guatemalan people, in front of the Haitian people. In the case of Senegal, of course, it's cases happening in Senegal. And one of our big challenges for the case of Hissène Habré is to make sure that this trial in Senegal is accessible on TV, makes a difference to people back in Chad. But this is a very positive development for justice at the national level.
How will you make the case of Hissène Habré available to people all over the world, the trial of him?
Well, the budget that we've helped to put together includes over €1 million, $1.3 million for outreach activities, for televisions, for community meetings, for bringing journalists and human rights activists from Chad to Senegal, bringing journalists from Senegal to Chad, because these countries are very far apart and don't have any direct way, even means of communication.
Why is it important to put this trial out to the world?
Well, because I think for many reasons. First of all, to
we have 15 seconds.
Sure, to show that victims can bring to justice a dictator, and I think that this case was inspired by the Pinochet case, and we hope that this case will inspire many others.